How do you claim to love all of you when you're trying to get rid of parts of you? I really dislike the word self-love just because of everything it is taught to be. Also, I guess on the internet, what people think self-love is or what they preach it to be. Because essentially, we can't try to love ourselves and also deny ourselves of the connections or try to indulge in physical things that are going to soothe us in order to cover up some sort of emptiness that we feel when we're alone or when we're quiet for a second. A lot of people can't even be alone with themselves for just a second to realize that there is an emptiness going on there and that they don't like themselves. A lot of people in this generation and younger, and especially in dating, they claim not to need anyone else, so to harden their hearts and live their lives as some sort of badge or novelty that not needing someone is self-love. But I think that there is some sort of mixed up message going on there. So what does love actually mean to you? And I'm asking because when you think about when you were a child, your mom was there for you to pick you up from school or to attend to your school plays. We can remember instances where maybe they picked us up when we fell, or they stood up for us when we weren't able to do so. And in all of these experiences, how do we know that we were loved? In all of these instances, it's presence. Whilst I don't deny that there is a very big need for self-care to physically take care of this vessel, and whilst a lot of people who don't love themselves don't take care of that physical part of our vessel and our human selves, there is a more quiet component in being present with yourself that can sometimes look like looking at the qualities that you hate within yourself in order to seep some compassion into them, questioning your beliefs. I'm going to tread lightly with this one, but blaming someone for the wrongdoings of what they did to you and when you suppressed your emotions to keep the peace, for example, and finally expressing your anger or your frustration or actually using your voice to speak out, that's also a sense of presence and self-acceptance and self-love because you're coming from an authentic place, following your passions, letting your voice be heard, reparenting your own triggers, because remember we have agency in the way that we live our lives, and also understanding our upbringing no matter how it was from an objective point of view. I think that the practice or the flow of self-love is in all the things that we don't immediately see, but in the ways that we automatically react to the world and to ourselves. And I think dropping our defenses so to let the love in finally is a way of self-love, but also to create defenses. For example, creating the boundaries necessary, so creating the defenses in order to protect yourself after not protecting yourself for so long, no matter how uncomfortable either one is going to feel. Another thing is finding benefits in those bad behaviors or those bad parts of yourself is the quickest way to get out of the illusion of one-sidedness. Think of it like the fastest way to control the masses, and John DeMartini said this perfectly, is the fastest way to control the masses is to provide some sort of idealism for people to reach to or to work to. And whilst people on the way are struggling to reach that ideal, they divide into what's good and what's bad. Achieving anything other than ideal is bad. So we have to remember that duality exists in the world, in the society, but also in us. So if you want love, you have to accept that you're gonna feel pain on the way to love. If you want someone who's honest, you want to accept that you will experience lies from other people on your way to realizing that you want an honest person. If you want self-love, you're gonna have to accept that you're gonna feel shitty, you're gonna feel empty, you're gonna feel confused. On the note of duality, it's really important that we realize that there is a need to create balance between the head and the heart, and both as valuable, the critical thinking and the compassionate, authentic led action that centers us and grounds us, and then we can live from a place of authenticity and truth. The best thing for me when it comes to self-love was learning how to self-soothe during big emotions that came up, like anxiety and fear and anger and all the suppressed emotions that I wasn't able to express, and also happiness, expressing it in a way that feels right for you, in a healthy way. And another thing was learning to be soft and remain emotional in an environment that devalues emotion and their expression, which is something I'm still learning, and by no means am I perfect or healed. And I kind of was resistant to making this video purely for the fact that I thought one of my negative thoughts were, well, I'm not there yet, or I'm not completely healed again, which is like that duality point of view where you have to be, you have to be at the end point in order to give some sort of wisdom, which is not the case because we are always ever evolving. Another thing is to realize and recognize your own stress and how your body copes and reacts to the world, to yourself, whilst it's in that state, which is probably going to be the hardest thing if you don't have the awareness just yet. Other things that you can do is you have to challenge your negative beliefs and your negative self-talk. So you have to ask yourself, the thought that I'm thinking right now that's so debilitating, is it mine? Or is it something that my parents would say, the people outside would say? Because if it doesn't sound like your own thing, or if you truly don't believe that, don't choose that thought to be in your head. Another thing is setting healthy boundaries, being clear about what you need and not being afraid to ask for that. I think a lot of the time people who don't love themselves, they don't even know what they need. So the first part is perhaps not voicing what you need, but trying to figure out what you feel, what you need in the moment when you feel it, and not trying to suppress and mask. Another huge thing actually is to practice gratitude in valuing yourself and appreciating what you have. Because if you dedicate a few minutes each day to coming back to center and appreciating, readjusting that lens of which you see life, to see positives and to see what you have when you have it, you will always know how to come back to that feeling of peace and create more of it. Just remember that developing self-compassion and self-love or radical self-acceptance is an ongoing process. It's not going to be like, well, in a week I'm going to love myself and that's that. Usually if you've tried self-affirmations, if you tried this and that, and you're watching this video and still it hasn't worked, that's because that idea of self-love is not working for you and you need to try something else, something more authentic, something that is going to resonate with you. The key to developing your self-compassion is always bringing your mind and your body, once it's soothed, to a place of gratitude and dropping in your heart space. That means dropping the ever shouting ego that tends to be a little bit too loud, and you can always kind of tell the difference. And just remember that when we are emotionally charged, that can bring our bodies out of balance and make us act very impulsively in our behavior and how we say things, but also what we say. So you want to remain center and you want to practice disarming that emotion, but first pausing, because that's going to give you a moment to breathe, develop that awareness, and then act from a place where the emotions have calmed down for a little bit, for you to be clearer minded to act in the way that you intentionally want to. The aim of all of this work is to aim for integration, not perfection, because when we see all the parts in ourselves, we're able to see other parts in another person without trying to change anything or trying to fix, because there's no need to fix anything in ourselves, only to see love in all of those parts. And as much as I can tell you on how to start loving yourself, your job now is to turn inwards and to live in your highest authenticity, but also to have the awareness of what you need, what you want and don't want. That will heighten with time and your presence.